What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Zaynomics Gaming. Today we are going over Tessellation. It is a pre-order bonus for the final shape, and I will say it is a very unique weapon. It does put out a lot of damage in one quick burst, but it's not really that great for DPS, but we will talk about that here momentarily. Now, with this weapon, of course, you do have to pre-order the final shape, which me personally, I do not have a problem with doing, just because I know I'm going to play Destiny 2. I know that I'm gonna buy it eventually, so pretty much every time a new expansion comes out, usually in the fall, I'll go ahead and just pre-order it. Now, I do get the deluxe edition. It's usually $100. Maybe next year it'll go up after the final shape. I'm not really sure, but last year it was $100. This year it's $100, and I personally don't have a problem paying for it. Not to say that money is expendable or anything, but it's a game that I enjoy, and I know that I'm going to be playing this content. And for me, it gives me the peace of mind that, okay, I have a year to play Destiny 2 without worrying of having to buy something or a new expansion or anything like that, any type of dungeon key to play the new content that releases throughout the year. So for me, it's worth it. Of course, other games release around this time. Usually I go ahead and pick those up as well if it's something that I'm really interested in. But other than that, for you to get this weapon, you do have to pre-order the final shape. And I want to start off by saying it is a very unique looking weapon. The weapons team, sandbox team, they have really knocked it out of the park the past couple of years with these weapons. Quicksilver Storm was fantastic. I love playing with it. This weapon's no different. It does take some time getting used to, especially on controller, but it does put out a lot of damage. And one good thing about this weapon is it does synergize with 3.0 verbs. So essentially, if you want to have three stasis weapons, you can do that. If you want to complete your energy and heavy with solar, you want to use those 3.0 verbs, you are able to do that with this weapon. So it is a one-of-a-kind weapon and is based off the subclass that you use. Now, the perks, they are very unique and one of a kind. The first perk is called Property Irreducible. Hold reload to consume your grenade to load a large projectile that generates an elemental explosion on impact, and it's pretty much a bomb. That's really what I like to call it. There's no tracking or anything, and it does still have the charge time associated with the fusion rifle, but it does put out a lot of damage. Now, before we get into the damage numbers, the second main intrinsic trait of this weapon is called Property Undecidable. This weapon adapts its damage type to match your equipped subclass. Final blows grant grenade energy. So with the explosion, it does have roughly a 6-meter radius, and it will kill nearby targets depending on what you're using this weapon with. And like I said, it does synergize with the 3.0 verb. So if you are using like a scorch build, you end up igniting enemies and they end up exploding. That all works with this weapon. I've also used volatile rounds with this weapon. Granted, I have to throw a grenade first, which that kind of goes into the build that you are using. So for me, with the Titan, I was using Armentarium because it does give me 2 projectiles that I can load, but it also allows me to proc volatile rounds when I throw my grenade at these trash ads and I get a grenade kill using Echo Stability. So it is very nice, and you can see that this will play very nicely when we have artifact mods that are associated with the grenades, like certain artifact mods where you could get volatile rounds by getting void weapon kills, stuff like that. So that will actually play into this fusion rifle. So this fusion rifle is very versatile. It is not like a weapon that we have ever seen before, in my opinion, with it being able to synergize with all subclass 3.0 verbs, with it able to use any subclass, and it being able to use any elemental damage type. That's pretty impressive as well. You can have volatile rounds 1 minute, and then you can be severing targets the next. It really just depends on your playstyle and what you plan on doing with this weapon, and the animation is just amazing as well. Now, of course, like I said, I was using the Titan. This is not really a build video, but of course I had to use Ward of Dawn and stack on Armor of Light. Now, if you are using the Titan and you are using Ward of Dawn with Weapons of Light, you are able to get out a great amount of burst DPS, where I was hitting for 133,000, as well as another additional 7,000 for the impact. The explosion is just great, and you can see it killed enemies in the background as well. And you can see in the background gameplay, I load up another projectile, or grenade, excuse me, and then I shoot it at this other Minotaur. I'm hitting for roughly 141,000. I still have another projectile that I can use, and you just keep chaining it. Right now I have another grenade. You can see I kind of lost track of my enemy, but weapons of light, with this weapon, it works very well together. If you don't have weapons of light, you'll hit for roughly 107,000 plus the other 7,000 for impact. So it's not that bad. It is pretty good for a special weapon. You can pretty much just shoot it, get in, get out, and you really don't have to worry about a heavy weapon. So I didn't use heavy that often. You can see in the background gameplay, I went ahead and used my rocket right there just because I missed my tessellation shot. Now that comes with another degree. With the projectile, it doesn't travel too fast, but it does not have tracking either. So you need to make sure that you are relatively close. You don't want to be too far away because you can end up missing, especially with Vex, because they can teleport. That was probably my biggest struggle throughout the whole thing, is just with them teleporting. And even still, like you can see the rocket launcher in the background gameplay, I only hit for 62,000 plus 17,000 with the impact. So Tessellation was actually out DPSing, burst DPSing the rocket launcher, which was pretty fantastic to me. Now, of course, we will have some builds that come out that will probably be a little better than others, but that's basically just a generic rundown of this weapon. Now, it is fantastic to play with. Like I said, it does feel really good, and there really is no setup, so it's kind of foolproof. All you do is just equip a subclass. You want as many grenades as you want, but you don't really want to build into the grenades because you're using the grenades in the weapon, and it gives you grenade energy back when you get the kills. So I really wouldn't spec too much in discipline. But if you have an exotic where you can get multiple grenades, like Nothing Manacles or Armentarium, or you use the Hunter with the Strand subclass, you're able to get 3 grenades. So those kind of benefit. But as far as like specking into discipline and trying to always have a grenade, I don't recommend that. Sunbracers is it kind of works, but Sunbracers runs out so fast. You do have some animation involved with actually loading a projectile to the weapon, so it doesn't shoot as fast as you think. Is it nice to have? Meh, but there's more setup involved with that. Whereas if you just have a decent little build and you play with the weapon, you're able to get some decent numbers out with Tessellation. Now moving on to PvP. PvP is different. The weapon itself has some great base stats, but using your grenade to utilize the projectile in PvP is a little difficult. PvP is very competitive depending on who you're playing. I know yesterday I was playing Iron Banner. Of course, you have the standout weapons, shotguns, snipers, auto rifles are doing very well this season, and it's kind of hard to actually get the projectile loaded and get the kill that you're looking for. Obviously, the weapon tuning is a tad bit different inside PvP compared to in PvE. You're able to get a ton of damage, but it just doesn't perform as well as I would like it to inside of PvP. And I know we don't want to have too crazy overpowered weapons to where people are struggling, but it does feel good to use. I would say it's satisfying when you do get those projectile kills, but it's not 100% necessary, and you kind of shoot yourself in the foot when you are expecting or trying to get a projectile kill instead of actually focusing on the match that you are currently playing. If you're just running around trying to consume your grenade and get projectile kills, you could be hurting your team as a whole. In some cases, it's probably better just to use the weapon as a regular fusion rifle. It does perform very well in that aspect, but there are a lot of good other fusions, so that makes it different. Do you want to take up an exotic slot to actually just use a fusion rifle? Now, if you are trying to go for projectile kills, I recommend, if you are running a Titan, of course you want to use the lightning rod grenades. I don't even remember what they're called, but you definitely want to use those trip mine style grenades because you get 2 of them. If you use the hunter class, of course you want to use strand because you'll get 3 grenade throws, and that allows you to not use your grenade essentially and waste it, because you do potentially have the drawback of actually missing your shot, and then bam, now you don't have a grenade. You didn't generate any grenade energy because you didn't get a kill, and now you have nothing else to fall back on. So it's something to think about. You definitely have to be a little bit more strategic if you plan to use the projectile. Now, I have had some success with it, but like I said, it is far and few, and it really just depends on who you're playing with. If you're playing with some blueberries, or if you're playing with casual players, or if you're playing with like stacked teams, you are gonna, you could potentially struggle using the projectile. So that's gonna do it for me, guys. Tessellation, that is the review on it. PvE, it pretty much slaps. I love the versatility of it. PvP kind of needs a little work. I like the concept of it, but in most cases it's just better to use as a regular fusion rifle. And whether or not you want to give up that exotic slot for this fusion rifle or not, I would rather use a different fusion rifle and just use a different exotic of my choosing, whether that be Hawkmoon or some other hand cannon, some other pulse rifle, something of that nature inside of PvP. It won't be too often that you actually use a projectile, but you can pull off some decent plays. Now, that's going to do it for me, guys. If you enjoyed the video, like I said, like the video down below and consider subscribing to my channel. It's a free way to support me. I greatly appreciate it. I will see you in the next video. I hope you all have a wonderful day.